Assalamualaikum and good day. Today, my team and I from PMG Group are going to present on asset decommissioning. Our PMG Group consists of 5 members. First is me, myself, Muhammad Nur Aiman. Second one is Khairul. The third one is Anwar. The fourth one is Haziq. And the last one is Hilman. Our presentation are divided into several parts, as you can see in this slide of the table of contents. Before proceeding any further to this project, let me briefly give an introduction about asset management as a whole. First thing first that needs to be understood is the definition of the asset itself, which is asset is actually something that has potential or actual value to an organization. And the whole purpose of having a good asset management is actually to ensure the organization achieves its organizational strategic plan. Thus, when we are talking about the good asset management, there are few steps that need to be obeyed, or we call it as the asset management cycle. So, asset management cycle will starts when there is any business need or opportunity. Then there will be a phase of pre-feasibility option and feasibility analysis. After that is the part when we are going to develop the asset capability, which also means that they are already in the stage of purchasing the asset. As for this stage, it will only be executed once it is justifiable on why and for what reason we are going to purchase that particular asset. Then the asset will be installed when it has been purchased. It will be installed, and there must be a logistic support throughout the whole process. After that is the operating step of the asset itself. Next, the asset will be maintained and monitored from time to time. And at the end of the day, if the asset is not making any profit or the maintenance cost itself is high, the person who bought the asset may opt for the disposal or decommission stage. So the last part here, which is the decommissioning stage, which is the part where will be discussed in detail for this whole project. So the asset that has been chosen by our group is the decommissioning of car. Basically, the definition of asset decommissioning is the process of removing something from a service, and in this case, process of removing the car from its use, which means when a car was not being used for a certain given period of time, it will make it be able to be decommissioned. There are few reasons why this decommissioning process is important. First of all, is actually to ensure that the asset itself is being protected. And the next one is to reduce the potential hazard. And the last one is, of course, to save the cost of the car itself, as it actually might cause more problems, which need the owner to pay more if it is not being decommissioned.
One of the best way to decommission a car is through car scrapping. So car scrapping is beneficial in ways such as that it is sustainable for the environment as well as it is profitable. So prior to scrapping a car, there are several legal procedures and documents which have to be done. So these documents are done in order to cancel the ownership of the vehicle. So these legal procedures can be done at the Road Transport Department of Malaysia. So after the legal procedures are done, the car can already be sold to the car scrapping dealer. So the scrapping process itself first starts with dismantling and disassembling. So hazardous material is removed and reusable materials, reusable parts of the car is also removed to be sold separately. So next is after the parts are disassembled from the main body frame will be cut and crushed. So as the main body frame is made from metal, the materials can be recycled as reusable metals.
Hi, I'm Carol, and I will talk about the fourth question, which is the regulations. So the regulation is called the Directive 2000/53/EC on end-of-life vehicles. The directive had to become law in the Europe countries by 21 April 2002. Every year, ELVs generate between 8 and 9 million tons of waste in the Europe. So to prevent this waste, the directive aims to prevent and limit waste from the end-of-life vehicles and their components by ensuring their reuse, recycle, and recovery. The second aim is to improve the environmental performance of all economic operators involved in the life cycle of their vehicles. Next, the key points of the directive is achieving reuse, recycling, and recovery performance targets, where vehicle and equipment manufacturers must ensure that new vehicles are usable and recyclable to a minimum weight of 85%. The second point is preventing the use of certain heavy metals such as cadmium, lead, mercury, and chromium. in order to minimize this hazardous substance from being released to the environment. The third point is collection of vehicles at suitable treatment facilities, where manufacturers, importers, and distributors must provide systems to collect ELVs and bear the costs involved in the delivery of an ELV to a waste treatment facility. The first point is the depollution of fluids and specific components, where treatment facilities need to drain the ELV from all fluids and remove components which are marked as being hazardous. The fifth point is coding and information on parts and components. Coding is necessary because it will be easier for treatment facilities to identify hazardous materials. And the last point is ensuring information for consumers and treatment organizations, where among them are the national environmental authorities who demand feedback on area coverage achieved to monitor the performance of the waste treatment. Next, ELV in Malaysia. In the policy, ELV was introduced in the first NAP, which is National Automotive Policy in 2006. In the policy, the ELV part is mandatory annual inspection of vehicles with 15 years of age or older for road tax renewal. It was However, it was retracted due to public dissatisfaction, since there are many burdens such as more costs are needed. Therefore, the implementation of ELV in Malaysia needs to be carefully studied before it is implemented in order to ensure acceptance from the public. That's it.
According to the studies that have been done, there will be no cost associated with scrapping the car. This is because the entire process of selling the scrap car is free of charge, beginning with the cancellation of the car's license all together to dealing with the scrap car dealer. There will be no fees in cancelling the car's license at JPJ. All that is required for the seller is the preparation of the necessary documentation for the transaction. After successfully cancelling the car's license, the seller can go deal with the scrap car dealer. Usually, the scrap car dealer offer a car towing service. There will be no charge associated with this because the cost will be subtracted from the scrap car's price later. The seller will gain profit by selling the car for scrap metal. A good price for a scrap car is frequently offered by a local dealer. The value of the car will be determined by its quality as well as the scrap metal market. This is because many parts of the car, including the seats, carburetor, batteries, tires, and steering wheel, can be reused if they are still in good shape. Other metal parts such as car doors and the body of the vehicle can be sold for metal, and the price will be depending on the mass. As a result, the scrap car can be sold for both its reusable components as well as its metal.
As we decommissioning our car using scrapping method, there will be risk involved. So what is risk? Risk is the possibility of something bad happening, and it involves uncertainty how these bad things will affect us. So what should we do to overcome the risk? The best option is to do risk management, and it takes place on two major fronts, which are assessment or identification and management and control. Both of these areas need to be done well, or otherwise it will contribute to ineffective asset management. So let's move on to the possible risk from car scrapping. The first one is motor vehicle waste pollution. If we chose scrap car dealer without the good vehicle waste disposal, it will harm aquatic life as well as fine can be issued to us. So the next one is explosion from vehicle battery. As vehicle battery contain lithium, it is highly explosive if we expose it to the extreme temperature. The third one is injuries caused by vehicle broken glass. As scrapping would break the glass of the vehicle, safety measurements need to be taken to avoid injuries. So, what should we do to overcome the risk? The first one is to build a waste disposal well where it will contain all the vehicle waste and avoid it from mixed to the underground water. The second one is to wearing personal protective equipment to avoid any injuries. And the second one is to remove explosive components from vehicle before scraping. In conclusion, scrapping method is not as straightforward as it seems because it consists of several procedures that needed to be taken. And the whole process actually does not require any cost, but instead it gives out profit in many ways. And the most important thing is we need to choose a responsible scrap car dealer because it will help to save the environment. So that's all from our group. Thank you for your time.